weekends off, so...
I'm insane. No, seriously. I don't have any kind of sensible routine. When I first went full-time as a writer, so until that point I had been doing a day job of some sort and writing. So I was doing law, or I was teaching in Japan, and at one point I worked in the library system. So at first I thought, I have so much time now, I have like a whole day to write. And I thought, wow, why don't I check my email? Why don't I update Facebook? And oh, didn't I have to go to the post office? And maybe I'll bake some cookies. And then I'd get to the end of the week and I'd be like, oh! And the thing was, I didn't even understand why I was doing it, because I love writing. It's like in my blood. If I don't write, you know, I honestly am not a very nice person to be around. Get out of my space, let me write. But I would be writing, I'd just work on other things. It was crazy. And so it was a settling in period, I think. And I've talked to other writers who've gone from work to full-time writing, and they all do it. They all have that sort of crazy couple of months or, 6 weeks where they're just flopping around and not really doing anything with all this time they suddenly have. So once I settled, what I realized was I am really an afternoon/night person. I am not at my best in the morning. So of course I answer emails in the morning. So if you get crazed emails from me, it's in the morning. So what I do is I structure my day so that, I get up, I try and get up at sort of a reasonable hour, but I won't tell you what I consider reasonable. Let's just say Drew and I are soulmates. So I get up and I'll do my emails and stuff, and I actually cannot sleep in that late because I live in New Zealand and most of my work people are in New York, like my editor, my publicist, or on the other side they're like in Europe, so like in Germany. So for me that means Germany is late at night, that's when they're awake, after sort of 9 and 10, and then New York would be sort of in the morning. I can get them till about 10 in the morning, at 10:30, so I have to, if I'm going to touch base with them on the same day, I have to be able to answer that. So I do that, and I'll do any other sort of like interviews and things like that. Have lunch, and then the afternoon is work, whatever that happens to be. So when I'm writing first drafts, I set myself goals. Like, I don't set myself time goals like 2 hours, because it is so easy to just do nothing for 2 hours. I set myself goals like, you have to write 3,000 words every day on this book to get the first draft. And I tend to be very manic in the first draft stage because I really want to know the story, and I just kind of pour it all out. So I quite often will write more. But some days it takes a lot longer than others. It just depends on the scene and the point of the book. And sometimes when a scene is really difficult, it could be structurally difficult or emotionally difficult. It could take me a really long time. It could take me till 2 o'clock in the morning. And other times 2 hours and I'm done. And if that happens, if it's like it happens and it's done, then I will usually use the time for something else. I'll either write more so I'm ahead of my schedule, or lately what I've started doing is splitting it so that I actually work on 2 projects every day. 2 projects at different stages. So one might be a first draft, for example, might be first drafting a Gil Hunter novel, and I might be editing a Cy Changeling novella, right? And what that's done is actually improved my output. You probably noticed I've had more releases in the past sort of year, and that's because I changed the way I write, and it's that. And I did it after reading an interview with another writer when he said, he only has kind of 3 hours of really focused concentration on a book, and then he starts to try and work, but it's not as efficient. But he found that if he switched projects, he again got that 3 hours burst of concentration. And I tried it because I've always been someone who believed I have to be linear and work on one project at a time. And since I've done that, I have found it works for me too. So it refreshes me again in a smaller way than changing series, And so that's what I do. And I am usually awake till 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning. So that's why if you're on Twitter and things, you'll be tweeting with me. Yeah, it's a dead of mine where I am. But that's the way my brain works. Like sometimes when I go back from these trips, I'm jet lagged and I wake up early and I think this is great. You know, I can see the dawn and I can get so much done. And it takes about a week and I'm back into my late night routine again. So I've just given up and embraced it. Yeah. Okay, so back.
I'm just fascinated. How do you keep track of everything with the continuity?
How do I keep?
What tricks do you use to make sure? Because there's so much detail that you haven't missed something or contradicted yourself. So how do you do that?
How do I do it? Okay, so there were kind of two answers to that. So did everyone hear the question? It was about continuity and how to keep track of the details. So when I wrote Slave to Sensation, it was my first series that I started. And so everything, the first book's fine, no problem. Then I started writing Visions of Heat, and I realised I had to keep flipping back to Slave to Sensation to check details. And it was small things like eye colour, hair colour, but bigger details as well, what I'd said about certain designations, whatever. And I thought, oh, I have to start keeping notes. So what I did was I just bought this folder at the Hyakuen shop, which is like the $1 store in Japan. But it's great. It has the most awesome, cute little kitty things. Anyway, like they have the best stationery people. The best. I got coloured staples from there. Multicolored. Anyway, I digress. So I got this folder, and how I set it up was first I had I had some maps in there. And the maps were of the regions I was using, but I had marked where, for example, Lucas's lair was. And where Vaughn's home was, and everything like that. So, and then I had some research notes that I had printed out of particular areas that I needed to make sure were the same from book to book. And then, but the majority of the folder is made up of personal notes, and every author sort of organizes this a different way. For me, I do it by character. So, for example, Lucas's one, has Lucas Hunter. And then it's got his family tree with his parents, grandparents, date of birth, all of that. And then below that, it's got his timeline. So everything we know about him from book to book. And that's updated each time he appears in a book and we learn something new about his history. And then on the other side, it's got like physical characteristics. And then once, Sasha comes into his life, there's also notes about that he's connected to Sasha now, and anything else I need to keep track of about those two. And obviously the Lucas and Sasha pages interact, but I do it to a character because the characters are very clear in my head, and a lot of the time I don't actually need the notes because for me they're like real people, and I can keep them inside here. Just like if you were my friends, all of you, I would know each and every one of you differently because we would have had conversations, we would have gone out, and all those memories, would have made you a discrete individual in my mind. And it's the same with the characters because I spend so much time with them, And so usually when I check things, it's more like, were the lines on this side of the face or that side of the face? It's things like that I check the really tiny details. Not so much the bigger world stuff because that's I say it's like a movie in my head. And it really does feel like that. That's how I can write those short vignettes I do for the newsletter. Because it is. It's like, oh, let's go see what so-and-so is up to, and then I can do that. And if you're not part of my newsletter, by the way, you should be. You are bad fans. No, I'm guessing most of you are because the people that have been coming to the signings have mostly got the information from the newsletter. Yeah. But if you're not, I do sort of try and do like a quick short story or a vignette every month, and I skip between the series, to keep everyone happy. And yeah. So the last one was the Guild Hunter one. It was about a certain butler. It was fun to write. Yeah. So that answered your question. Yeah. Oh, one more thing I will add. Last year we tried to do a wiki, like online, because it's so complex now that my folders are like turned into these giant binders. And my poor assistant put it all together and I've never used it. Because when I write, I actually turn off the internet. And I like to have folders next to me opened up. And so I would make her print out for me. So that did not work well. So now she just puts everything in a folder for me. And it's kind of like if any of you work in professions where they come in and they update talking about, right? I don't know what to call it.
Errata sheets.
Yeah, errata sheets. You know that they, it's, for those who don't work in those professions, it's like they're binders and they have like case law and whatever. And people come in every month or something and they take out the ones that are no longer relevant and they insert new pages. So that's basically what she does now, because each time I write a book, she'll put together all the notes, you know, the continuity notes, and add them to the binder. And despite that, I still always triple fact check against the actual books, because I can remember the moment in this scene, where that piece of information was mentioned, and I will double check it, because of the way I write, I end up with deleted scenes, and that means I sometimes think something's in the book it's not, because I wrote it. So even though I have those notes, always go back to the files for the final book, and then check that, and then only then do I put it in. Have I made errors? Very small ones, then they make me crazy because they're in there. But you know, things slip through, but it's been nothing major, just very, very minor things, and I think that's fine. It's human. Yeah. Okay, next. Yes. Karen, right?
Yes. Hi. Thanks for restarting the Facebook group. A lot of people have joined. A discussion has happened on that group, and it was. We're wondering how you envision cardinal psi eyes. It's always back and forth. It's like, is the eyes fully, night, or do you see the whites?
Well, for me, it's always been full, like no whites. But I'm happy for people to imagine it whatever makes them happiest. Yeah, because the best I've seen in nature, as an example of what I envision, is, I think someone might have even probably posted it on the group, is an owl who's blind, called Zeus. If you Google it, you'll find the image, and he has the most beautiful eyes, and it's not eerie. It's haunting. It's very beautiful, and that's how I sort of have envisioned cardinal eyes. But sometimes people send me fan art and they've just done, you can see the whites, and that's fine too. I think some things in books, it's okay to take your own imagination and run with it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, more? Yes.
When you started Slave to Sensation, how awkward was it for you to have written the sex scenes?
Not awkward at all. No, I was literally, I was in Japan, right? So, I was, I can even remember sitting